Hey, welcome to Jazz After Dark, everybody. How you doing today? Did you have a good holiday? I love it. Ooh, this room is echoey. We're working on that. Try to make it a little less echoey. Tonight, if you don't know, this show is just a hangout, right? We talk about finance and investing and stuff, but we do it in a more laid-back way. Tonight, we'll be enjoying 1792 Kentucky Bourbon here. Now, not my top pick. My daughter actually bought it for me, and it's 1792. If you don't want to know the story, just skip ahead. But so we've got 1792. Well, what else did she get me for Christmas? She got me a Rocky Patel vintage 1992 cigar. Okay, that adds up. And then she also got me a Jazz Alley 1992 coin, and that's not going to really show up very well. From the, I believe it was Casino, right? Back in the day. Or maybe it's still there. I don't know. Anyways, I thought that was super cool. Well, 92 happens to be my favorite number, and she found a way to kind of make it all work out there. So very cool. What's your favorite number? 55? Does it happen to be 55? We're going to talk about the rule of 55 here tonight, but I'm not going to just teach you the rule. It's a very simple rule to understand. We're going to explore how we can think through it just a little bit more. Real quickly, the rule of 55 says, if you quit your job, get fired, retire, or get laid off in the year or after you turn 55 years old, then we're going to let you take from your 401k, the government will let you take from your 401k, and we won't hit you with the penalty, right? Because you know that 59 and a half, right? That's where it's supposed to be. But they say, well, no, if you're 55 and this happens to you, we're going to let you take it out early. Why is that? Why would they then just tell us that you take it out at 55, right? Well, you don't have to. But this was kind of put in place years ago when we figured out there was people weren't going to have pensions anymore. Remember, 401ks, if you're a youngin' out there, 401ks are not that old of a product. It used to be pensions and different sort of corporate paid retirement plans. So what would happen is people would get older and they make a lot more money when they're older, hopefully. And they would say, well, let's just fire them early and hire somebody younger before. And that's not exactly how it went down, but you get what I'm saying. Like if we can pay somebody less that's younger and bring them up through the ranks, we'll get rid of the person that costs us more. So the government said, well, hey, if you want to take out of it your retirement account, you certainly can. All right. That's the rule. There's really nothing else to say about the rule. It's called the rule of 55. So what made me think of this, by the way, is I was looking at these various studies. YouGov is a good one. Northwestern Mutual does some good ones. And between Gen Z and the Millennials, just look, how many people think they're going to retire before 60 years old? We got, 40-something percent, or not quite, 39% there. We definitely have 40% here of the whole group. And then what I thought was funny was 1% says after 70, 2% after 70. So everybody wants to retire earlier. And the rest of the people say either I don't know or I'll probably never retire. And that just stuck with me because I'm like, all right, well, we'll do a separate video on that. Like, what's your deal? You don't ever think you're going to retire. But then the people that want to retire early, I said, well, that's the rule of 55. They would need to know how that works. So what can we do to not, to make the most of the rule, right? Sure, I'm 56. Okay, I'd like to start taking from my 401k. Great. I want you to think of it this way. We are solving for future tax problems if you retire early, or if you can retire early, and you start taking out from your 401k, right? Or 403b, whatever it is. Oh, by the way, the rule of 55, it doesn't apply to the IRA. So let's just go to the side here for a second. The rule of 55 doesn't apply to an IRA. So I've done this with clients where they say, I've left my job and I'm 55 years old. Let's roll over the 401k. And I go, let's not. Or let's only roll over a piece of it. Let's leave a chunk in there because you may need to withdraw. Once you put it in the IRA, you cannot reverse rollover back to the 401k at some point. And within 60 days after that, you can't do it. And say, oh, my bad, I want to put it back in the 401k so I can follow the rule of 55. No, it doesn't work that way. So you want to be really thoughtful about if you retire early, don't just go rolling it all into an IRA, no matter what the best advisors on the planet, the 66th best advisor on the planet, or anyone worse would tell you. I wouldn't let you do it, right? So just be careful there. Okay, so let's think about this. You're 55, you retire. You've got hopefully a substantial 401k, and maybe you have other investments, maybe you don't. Okay, cool. Well, we know that that money is going to be taxable as ordinary income as you withdraw it, okay? So what we want to do is look at your expenses, what you need to withdraw to survive versus what you could withdraw to pay lower taxes now versus in the future. Even if we don't use all that money, we might convert some of that to a Roth 401k or maybe a Roth IRA if that's how this went down. But we want to start working every angle possible. So for those of you that are going to retire early, which, what was the thing? You got all these people want to retire before 60 years old. I have zero problem with that if we have a good plan, everything's put together. However, I guarantee you don't have every single part figured out. How to get more money out now, start the 5-year clock on the Roth conversions if that's what you're going to do. Maybe solve for some educational expenses for a child, maybe. It could be. If you're 55, yeah, sure. Solving for things like that, starting to plan ahead for the one-time HSA exclusions, all these little things I'd love to be able to put in place there. What's the one thing that you could do if you're by chance enjoying some bourbon with me here and you're like, one thing, that's all I got. I don't have various accounts. I don't have lots of assets. The one thing you can do if you're younger, and you can pass this on to your kids if you're in the 55 camp or whatever, is to have a brokerage account, right? Advisor guy here should be saying have a Roth IRA. That's not a bad answer, but a brokerage account, if you're going to retire early, is huge. There are games to be played, legal games to be played there. But you hopefully have the 401k, right? I'm saying the next best thing that you can kind of diversify and get a nice thick account would be a brokerage account. Because remember, a 401k, the money that you withdraw is taxed as ordinary income. It's not a capital gain. It's not, what do they call it? Not a long-term capital gain, short-term capital gain. It's not taxed as like a collectible tax or something. What is happening? Is that better? It's not taxed as something other than. It is taxed as ordinary income. So if we have a wildly diverse brokerage account, we have choices. We have a way to reduce the ordinary income, potentially reduce the ordinary income tax, and solve for maybe showing a loss on paper. I'm not saying that's going to work 100% of the time. The market could have gone straight up from the time you started to the time you finish. Not likely, but that could have happened. And maybe you have no ability to do any loss harvesting. But the key to the brokerage account, if you're going to retire early, is diversity. And I'm not saying that because we want to limit our risk. No, we want to have so many positions that not all of them could possibly generate a profit over time, right? The account balance could go up, but we might have some stragglers down here that suck and they never grew, or they're having a bad year or something. They just fell apart, right? We need that. We need the account balance to grow, but we need to have potential losses to offset the early withdrawals from the 401k. So we're avoiding the 10% penalty for the rule of 55. We're taking out money, and we're going to have to pay some kind of ordinary income tax. We can use the brokerage account to either fill the gap or potentially lower the tax if we're in a world where that exists and the standard deduction is not, double what it is, which may change. And so we have this great combination to work with. Now, I don't say have a Roth. Someone's going to disagree with this, but let me tell you where I'm coming from. So I don't say go right for the Roth right away if you only have one choice, because what happens when you're going to retire early at 55, 56, whatever, we're going to pull out what you need. We're going to try to offset some of that with the brokerage account. And then we're going to look at where you're at and where the tax brackets are. We're going to say, let's convert the rest. Let's start the Roth conversions after that. You're 55, right? This is still well worth it. We've got plenty of time to do these things, assuming the cash is there. So it's just a deeper way of thinking through retiring early. So any other video you may watch, they go, hey, let's take a look at how many people responded. By the way, did you catch it over here? This is 339 people. It's not a large sample size, right? It's what they published. I don't know. So anyways, instead of going, oh, how cute, look at how many people think they're never going to retire. Look at all the people that want to retire early. It's like, okay, well, we know that given that small subset of people, we know that people do think they want to retire earlier. We deal with thousands of clients all over the globe actually here. And I'd say if they're not already retired, I'm going to say 45% of them want to retire early. Right? It doesn't sound like a big number, but it's a big number. So we want to think levels deeper. That's all I'm saying here. So consider yourself, if you're 35, 40, you want to retire early, you're in that camp there, or you're close to retirement, you got a brokerage account, consider making that more diverse, okay? And you got fractional shares these days, you can do that. Or if you're younger and you're like, I don't have a brokerage account yet, we don't need it to be massive, right? This is not like, oh my God, I got so much in my 401k, I got to keep up. No, we don't need to be massive. We just need it to be wildly diverse. That's it. So think about it this way. Instead of buying, and this is a lot of work actually, but some platforms offer this. Instead of buying just an S&P mutual fund or an ETF, buy the S&P. Every single stock in there, right? You can use fractional shares to do that. Don't do that if the platform doesn't support the management of it, because that's just insane to tell somebody to buy all 505 stocks. But something to look into. Maybe the NASDAQ 100, something like that. We want something really diverse there. Or your own stocks. Pick your own stocks. Spread them out over time. Just keep them very small positions. All right, rule of 55, okay? It is an advantage to you because you avoid the 10% penalty. That's the general YouTube video from the finance guy that says that. I'm saying, hey, rule of 55, we already know it exists. How do we prepare to use it and maximize the fact that we're going to have to pay taxes on some of this money? How do we maximize that total tax bill? And I should say minimize that total tax bill to get it done through retirement. And I didn't even get into IRMA. I didn't even get into tax on Social Security, when to take Social Security, Medicare, your premiums there. We're solving for all of that early so it doesn't become a problem in the future. It's a lot of words, right? Feels like a lot of words. Any questions? Oh, that's right. You can't hear me, or you can't answer back to me. Hey, the closing beat is coming back. We're trying to do some different things there. It is coming back, and it is here to stay. All right. You guys enjoy. Happy New Year.